Greetings, YouTube. Happy Tuesday. Every time I see a message like this in my in-game inbox, I can predict there are going to be a couple reactions. The first is from quote-unquote in-game players, which is 4-star rank up. Where's the 5-star rank up? I don't want to look at this POS. Well, I understand that. And there was a time where in-game players still cared about 4 stars, but when Act 6 restrictions became what they are, basically 4 stars are irrelevant to most players now who care about upgrading to 5 and 6 stars. It's just a fact of life. So a 4-star rank up bundle has become something that was targeted from maybe upper middle class players to middle class players to now maybe even somewhere between beginners and middle class MCOC players. But we have seen the price of the 4-star rank up bundle go down a huge amount in the past couple of years. So we'll see if this trend continues. And notice when you click on this, it does not have a restriction of title. For instance, if this was a 5-star bundle, which we would only see a couple times a year, you would see the opportunity for this to only be included for people who are uncollected or maybe even Cavalier. But that's not the case today. So we have the Rank Up Gem Crystal Bundle. And this is the same thing we've seen. And there's one big reason why I'm just still a little lukewarm on this bundle. Now, don't get me wrong. For $30, this offer has come a long way from what it used to be, which was maybe $100 if you were lucky. But what makes this thing so frustrating is that it's the crystal that determines the class. This is the 1 out of 6 RNG. So let's say you really want to take your Void up to rank 5, your Blade, Ghost, Corvus, Domino, you name it. And you would love this item because if it lands on that class, you get to take that champion up without having to worry about occurring or accumulating 3 tier 4 class catalysts of that class. That's a big deal because it's still really hard to get tier 4 class catalyst of a specific class that you're targeting. For most people that I talk to on a daily basis, they're not going to be able to be successful at that goal. But this is not going to give you the class that you're targeting most likely. Now, if you're somebody who legitimately could have somebody in your roster from each class, or even like 3 out of 6 classes, I would say is the minimum, then I'd say this is a fine gamble because you have a 50-50 shot at landing on one of those classes. But if you're targeting just one specific class, you're probably going to be disappointed by the $30 price tag. I do appreciate that they give some 6 stones, although at this point in the game, probably should be double that. A 20% champion boost probably should be a greater champion boost. And the gold is a little underwhelming, but not terrible. This exact bundle with everything included would be a much, much better graded value at $19.99. If this was $10 less, if this was $20 instead of $30, I would probably give it about a B+. But because you are screwed in terms of having to lean on the crystal to determine the class, there's just too much of a gamble if you're one of those summoners that needs to land on a class. If you don't, if there's somebody, especially like 5 or even 6 out of 6 classes, like if I got this item for the 5-star version, there's at least one champion from each class that I would target. And so it couldn't really work out poorly for my roster. That's also why I really encourage this is the same item for 5 stars that you get for, 12,000 units at the end of Act 6, Chapter 1 completion. But at the same time, this is still a gamble, and I would hate for people to buy this and think it's a generic, only to realize that they have to spin out the crystal, and that crystal probably isn't going to give them the class that they're targeting. So I'm going to give this a B- grade. I think for summoners who are starting out, this has a higher grade than that even. It's at least a B, because if you are just starting out, your chances of getting 3 tier 4 class catalysts for that 4-star to take to rank 5, unless you complete a ton of content, and a lot of people do not have the time to complete content when they're starting out, you're going to find that the money invested is going to get you a lot further faster than if you just grinded out the content. Of course, if you're free to play, I guess you're, I'm not sure why you're watching this video, unless you just enjoy my channel, which I appreciate, but you're not going to buy it anyway. But in general, it's just something that should be $10 cheaper, and if it was a generic, it would justify the $30 price tag. But because it's not, because you got to go on that class-based RNG, I'm going to give this a B minus, and for intro players, probably a solid B. It's not a terrible offer, and it's not a great offer. It's just somewhere in the middle of both those spectrums. Have a great Tuesday, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and as always, thank you for supporting my Marvel Contest of Champions YouTube channel.